All right, what's up, everybody? We are back here again for week number 18 of Pete's Power Rankings. Yes, I'm going through, I'm watching 99% of all these games. I'm taking notes, keeping tabs, ranking all 32 teams from 1 through 32. We have just 1 week left, ladies and gentlemen. The season has come and gone, at least the regular season. It's been an epic ride and journey. There's still a lot of playoff spots left to be taken, some seeding implications, lots of movements before we say goodbye to 18 teams and just 14 teams remain to bring home that Lombardi trophy. But let's just hop into it. Remember, these are power rankings, not the standings. Our final one of the regular season. We'll have one more next week going into the playoffs, but let's get into it. Our bottom tier teams. All right, no reason to not keep the Chargers here at 32. Really bad season for them. Thank God Staley's gone. Carolina, dumpster fire. You don't even have the first overall pick. Owner David Tepper's throwing drinks on people. His hand-selected coach is fired midseason. They don't draft CJ Stroud. Just awful for them. Washington was kind of competitive. They're going to get a new head coach. They're going to get a new quarterback, and they have a good draft pick to do that. The Jets, well, they're just the damn Jets, guys. New England, awful start. Zappy, 3 interceptions. Fought back. Felt like they had a shot to win that game at the end there. Tennessee, Vrabel and the new GM are really butting heads. He's going to be out, it looks like. Will Levis is okay. He got hurt again. New coach. Maybe they run with Will Levis, but it could be tough times. And Tennessee upcoming. The Giants. Brian Dable sold that game against the Rams. Tyrod Taylor, as solid as a backup as you're going to get. Probably should have been the starting quarterback for the Giants. Maybe they find themselves in a postseason race right now. But they sold. They're getting a new draft pick. God knows what they're going to do with Daniel Jones. Vegas whatever. Devontae Adams, 2 touchdowns in a fantasy championship round. Good for everybody that had Devontae Adams. I like what Pierce has done as the interim head coach, but is he really a full-time guy? I don't know, but maybe Vegas needs to change it up. So go with the interim guy. Arizona, awesome win. Arizona now the strongest strength of victory of any team in the NFL, taking down the Cowboys, taking down the Eagles. This team is not very talented, but they've done a great job. Jonathan Gannon seemed like a joke with his introductory press conference, but he's done an awesome job. Kyler Murray with this team, good for them. They have a lot of draft capital, and guess what? They are in prime position to maybe draft Marvin Harrison Jr., add an elite wide receiver, go with Kyler still. Should be a lot of fun, good, interesting times ahead in the desert. Atlanta, they're going to keep Arthur Smith, I guess. Good God help us. He's a total letdown, man. This team should be so much better than what their record is. It's just so depressing. They need a quarterback desperately. Mr. Dangerous, I think, could be on the move there. That would make a good fit for them. I like Bijan Robinson. I like their offensive weapons. It's just, man, it's frustrating to deal with. But let's go into our middle tier teams here, teams 22 through 16. All right, Denver 22, they got to win at least. No Mr. Dangerous. We'll see what they do moving forward. Sean Payton's got to find himself a quarterback. Minnesota, all the injuries finally caught up to this team. No quarterback, 4 different quarterbacks this year, but they got a lot of question marks moving forward. They got to extend Justin Jefferson heading into the offseason. They're going to have a decent draft pick, but maybe not good enough to go get one of those top guys. Do they re-sign Kirk Cousins? Really interesting. Chicago's been hot down the stretch here. They're looking good. They're going to have a tough decision, man. Justin Fields is playing just good enough to make you think you should keep him. Looks like they're going to run it back with Matt Eberflus. They do own the first overall pick. Could they trade it again, get another haul, keep Justin Fields, and really round out this roster? It's a possibility. Cincinnati falling off. They blew that game at Kansas City. They really should have won that game, but just awful coaching decisions, the limitations of the roster, the team in general. No Joe Burrow. It was a bumpy season all year. Bengals should be back next year, right back in those playoff spots, but that division is a juggernaut right now. Green Bay turning it around, really strong showing from them. They're in a win and in situation for the postseason. They're going to get in. Defense stepped up. They've been a train wreck the last few weeks. Still not a huge Jordan Love guy. His numbers are all over the place. He's pretty inaccurate with the ball towards the bottom of the league. Missed a ton of wide open guys. He ran it up on Minnesota, but guys were wide open and he was missing them. Can't live on throwing the ball off your back foot in this league like that. The Colts, another team, don't really pop off the tape for them. Had a big lead against the Raiders, kind of let them back in that game, but they took care of business for them. They're also in a win and in situation. I just think their backs are against the wall, but they are at home. Shane Steichen's done a great job with a backup quarterback. Anthony Richardson coming back in, going to be the starter next year. Maybe he's got it, maybe he doesn't. Could be an awkward situation for Indianapolis. And then number 16, the Saints. Huge win for the Saints to stay alive going into Tampa Bay. just when you believe in Tampa Bay, they always seem to let you down. But they are the odd team looking out here. They need a lot of help. They need Tampa Bay to lose to Carolina. They got to beat Atlanta to win the division. And if not, they need a lot of other help to get into that wild card spot. So they've really looked better down the stretch. I think you got to get rid of Dennis Allen. He's not a very good head coach whatsoever. But New Orleans here at 16. But let's get what to everyone came here for, your top 15 teams. Okay, I'm going to drop Tampa Bay 4 spots, but I'm still going to keep them in my top 15. Like I said, they control their own destiny. Just a win against Carolina. They're hosting a playoff game, and it looks like it's going to be the Eagles thanks to some tomfoolery, and the Eagles look super vulnerable. Everyone believed in Baker again, and they played bad. They got punched in the mouth. Baker tried to get them back. It was very interesting down the stretch. He just did not play good. Now we're going to start doubting Baker again. Here comes dangerous Baker. You don't want Baker to be with the chip on his shoulder in the postseason. That's a dangerous guy. He just looked very uncomfortable all game. Bad decisions, held onto the ball way too long. But we know what this team can do. I think the running game is very underrated. You got to keep running Rachaad White. They've had some terrible matchups all season. Defense isn't very good, especially on the back end. Good run defense, not a good pass defense whatsoever. Todd Bowles, figure it out, man. You're a defensive head coach. But Baker gets the ball to his receivers. Mike Evans is still good. Chris Godwin is still good. He gets the ball to his playmakers. This is an interesting team. I definitely think they could beat a struggling Eagles team in the wild card round, but they got to take care of Carolina first. But Tampa Bay here at 15 feels about right. Could be one and done, but I wouldn't be shocked if they kind of upset. They're going to be home dogs. Wouldn't be shocked if they pull off an upset and get into that divisional round. So Tampa Bay here at 15. Number 14, drop them down 2 spots, Seattle. Seattle, that was a really bad loss for them. They were in control of their own destiny. Thankfully, the Packers bailed them out. But guess what? They didn't really bail them out because the Seattle Seahawks are no longer in control of their own destiny. They got to play the Cardinals this week. Tough game for them, but man, threw it all away. The defense was not good. They got absolutely gashed by Pittsburgh. Geno Smith was okay, wasn't super sharp. They just weren't making the plays they've been making the last few weeks. DK Metcalf drops kind of a touchdown. It was a tough play, but he's made that play the last few weeks. K9 was awesome at the start of this game, really controlling the line of scrimmage. He gets hurt. They can't really move the football. It's an ugly, sloppy game, but they lose it at home. Now the Seahawks are the odd man out, kind of not going to get in, even though I think this is a decent team. It's a real shame for them because Pete Carroll in the playoffs, that's a dangerous team. They have all the weapons. Like I said, I think they need a new quarterback. Geno just isn't that guy. He's probably about like 15 to 14 in the league, and that's not good enough in this league to win a Super Bowl. The rest of the team is young. It's developing. I very much like this. Tyler Lockett could be on his way out. He's getting paid a lot of money for a number 2 / gonna be a number 3 with JSN. So Seahawks here at number 14. Okay, number 13 coming on really strong after looking like they were dead. It's the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, they don't control their own destiny. There are some complicated things, but Mason Rudolph has really turned this thing around to back-to-back big wins for the Steelers. They look really sharp on offense with Rudolph. This is not a bad team. They get Warren involved. Najee Harris looks rejuvenated at running back. They can run the football. They can now throw the football to their receivers. George Pickens is a crazy man, but he's a damn good receiver. And then the defense, it's not great. The secondary is pretty bad, but that pass rush, that defensive line, they really make their life hell. And Mike Tomlin, damn good coach, man. Never had a losing season. 17 straight years. Had no losing seasons as a head coach. That's incredible for him. So Pittsburgh is dangerous. I think this would be a really tough team to beat. They need some breaks. They got to beat Baltimore. Baltimore might be sitting their starters. Baltimore's also a team that likes winning preseason games. So you never just really know with Baltimore. But Steelers win, and they could really force the issue. They would need some help from some people, but it's not out of the realm of possibility. Pittsburgh really coming on strong. I think this is a much better team with Mason Rudolph at quarterback. Kenny Pickett is now a healthy sit. They're saying it's the hot hand. I think they just kind of know. Mason Rudolph was never bad as a starter. His numbers say he's just okay. He's not terrible. He has some good games. He had one stinker. Myles Garrett bopped him on the head. It happens sometimes. So Pittsburgh here at number 13. Number 12, my Houston Texans. CJ Stroud was back and they poured it on early against a beat up Tennessee team. Look, this is a totally different team when CJ Stroud is healthy. Missed some games with a concussion. He's back. They get Nico Collins back also. Really helped out this offense. It was smooth flowing. It looks so much different than what we saw the last few weeks with Case Keenum. So big spot for the Texans. I like them. They were my pick in the preseason as the surprise team of the league. Thought they would get to 9 wins. We are at the 9-win mark. They just got to get one more, and they're in the playoffs. They got to go to Indianapolis, where they lost earlier in the season. The defense is starting to come on. Really kind of tough to run the ball against this team. This defense does a really good job stopping the run. You can move the ball on them. It's kind of an average defense all around, but an A++ job from DeMeco Ryans. Probably not going to be good enough to win Coach of the Year. Even if they win this game, maybe Jacksonville loses, they win the division. Maybe we get it to DeMeco Ryans. But I think they're going to win this game. I think they're going to beat the Colts. I think they're going to be your wild card team. And that's one spot left remaining in the AFC potentially, or no spots left, depending how that Sunday night game turns out. But I really think this is a great job, a super young team. They went all in on this year's draft. They hit it out of the park with their 2 draft picks. So who needs this draft pick that's going to Arizona? It might be like a 20 overall pick. So great job from the Texans. Well done. And let's see if they can get it done against Indianapolis and get into the postseason. Okay, number 11, I got the Jaguars here. The big bounce back win for the Jaguars. They were reeling bad. No Trevor Lawrence. The world is on fire. CJ Beathard steps in, does a nice job. They kind of control this game. Their defense really stepped up. I know it's the Panthers, but they didn't allow a damn thing for Carolina. They couldn't do anything offensively at all. Travis Etienne chunks off a big run. They grind out some others. They take care of the ball. Decent performance all around from Jaguars. A team that was just like the sky was falling. They control their own destiny to win the division. If they do lose, they can still get in, get one of those wild card spots, but just take care of business. You got to beat up Tennessee team. I don't think Will Levis is going to play. Mike Vrabel's on his way out, but maybe that's when you're most dangerous. The players really do like Mike Vrabel, so this could be a dangerous spot for them. I'm not sure if Trevor's going to play this week. I'm thinking you got to play him if you can, even though he has not been good this year. Jacksonville, just such a roller coaster of a year. The numbers, they feel like the Minnesota Vikings of last year. The numbers did not support their win total. They're coming back down to earth, but they're going to have a home playoff game. Probably not going to be favored in that home playoff game. Probably catching the Browns in the first round, but you never know. If you can get Trevor healthy, you catch him on a bad night, the offense gets it figured out, because this team has all the pieces. It has all the potential. They just have not lived up to it. So Jacksonville here at number 11. Number 10, down to spot the Rams. The Rams really struggled against the Giants. They moved the ball pretty well. Kyren Williams, since he's coming back, this has totally changed this team. But Stafford, once you light him up and they don't protect him, he's not great. He throws the ball early, gets rid of it. He takes sacks, puts them behind the sticks, and it gets awkward. And this is not a great defense. Was one of the better run defenses, but they didn't do anything crazy against Saquon. Saquon had a decent day. Their pass defense is abysmal. Tyrod Taylor kind of lit their ass up. They give up a major punt return that really should have put them in major trouble. The Giants go for 2, don't get it. It was just a weird game, but the Rams do come away with the win. They seal up that playoff spot, and it's looking like a reunion in the Motor City in the first round. Sean McVay, Jared Goff, Matt Stafford, the Detroit Lions. It should be a stunning showdown. They've kind of cooled off a little bit in my eyes. I know they're still winning the games. They're just not red hot like they were 3 weeks ago, it felt like. Still very good. Still a team you don't want to play in the playoffs. They're so experienced. They have a great head coach. They have a Super Bowl winning team. And Puka Nacua, the rookie of the year, probably, maybe CJ Stroud, steps back in and steals it, but he's been phenomenal. We're talking Odell Beckham, Justin Jefferson, and Jamar Chase type rookie year from Puka Nacua in that same category with those 3 guys. He is right there. Awesome for them. Rams, super dangerous team. Good luck, Detroit. I know it's the last guy you want to see. Okay, number 9, down 4 spot, the Philadelphia Eagles. It's officially panic time in Philadelphia. It's very obvious they know they're not as good of a team as they were last year. But man, their defense can't stop anybody. The offense looked better this week. They scored some points against a terrible defense, but it's slugging through the mud. New play callers on both ends. They have no idea what they're doing. There's zero rhythm to this team whatsoever. They have no feel. They've lost four out of 5 in December. Just train wreck. They were 10-1. It was a lock. Jalen Hurts was your MVP. They now are no longer in control of the NFC East thanks to all these slip-ups. They're going to have to go on the road. They're going to be the wild card team, and you set up Dallas so nicely. Disastrous for the Eagles, but there are some positives. This team can still run the ball. I thought they could stop the run. They really have been bad the last few weeks. They need to try and figure something out. Maybe start blitzing more. Start trying anything because it's a total all-hands-on-deck situation. Now, the offense can kind of control things if they can keep running the ball more effectively, chew out the clock, make these games shorter. You got to get the ball. A.J. Brown has been like a no-man the last few weeks. Devontae Smith gets nicked up. He needs to be healthy for them. You got to have your weapons. The biggest thing I think with this team is Jalen Hurts. He's not improved. We saw the major jump last year. Unbelievable Super Bowl. They played a lot of bad teams. This year, not progression, but he's regressed. You don't want to see that with your young quarterback. You always kind of have to see improvements, even if they're small improvements. You have to see them, and he's totally regressed as a passer. Could the Eagles already be in a new quarterback market? Maybe, but they just paid Hurts the bag a little too early, it feels like. So Eagles here at 9, and I'd be petrified as an Eagles fan that this thing is going to end in disaster. All right, number 8, how about those Chiefs? 8 straight division titles for the Chiefs and Andy Reid's second longest streak in the history of the NFL. This has been a dumpster season for the Chiefs. It's just a frustrating season. Like the Eagles in the Super Bowl, won the Super Bowl. They know they're not the same team. First and foremost, their wide receivers are crap. They're trash. They're bad. MVS showing up Patrick Mahomes, a cuttable offense. Dude, you've been like the worst player on the team. You lost the game against the Eagles, and you're going to show up your quarterback who's literally carrying you bozos week in and week out because the throw to you was a little bit high. Just pathetic. Now that that's off my chest, defense looked much better in the second half. They were kind of giving up points early. Sloppy play from the offense as per usual. They have no really kind of bread and butter. Travis Kelce is 34. He looks like he's 38. And the teams are double covering him on top of it because they know those receivers aren't really shit. Now, Isaiah Pacheco back. He's a big-time guy. Rashee Rice, he is starting to get better. I think I need to see more of Rashee Rice. Matt Nagy's a terrible play caller. I kind of hate Matt Nagy. I think he's awful, and it's really kind of hurting this Chiefs team. But the defense got the big stops. Harrison Butker kicking 6 field goals. Awesome game from him. I think we know this is not the Chiefs team of the past, but you still just kind of don't believe it until Mahomes has to go on the road. Mahomes loses a home playoff game. We really don't see it. We've only seen it twice. 3 times, actually. Excuse me. We've seen it 3 times, but it's a rarity. He's usually winning, and he's usually winning in awesome fashion. Chiefs here at number 8. They're not the Chiefs of years past, but man, do you really want to be in a situation up 3, Mahomes with the ball, and 2:30 left? Absolutely not. All right, number 7, the Cleveland Browns. I think for the first time since the 1980s, we can say this is the best football team in Ohio. Not Ohio State, not the Bengals. It's the Brownies. Joe Flacco should be comeback player of the year, I think, even though he's barely played this year. It's just an incredible story. They keep on rolling. The defense of this team, they're not as good as they were to start the season. They're still monsters. I mean, Myles Garrett's going to be your defensive player of the year. He just wrecks games. Even if he isn't getting sacks, even if he isn't getting pressures, he draws so much focus, so much attention. It frees up other guys. It makes things awkward. I do wish the Browns would run the football more. They need to be more successful running the ball with their 2 running backs. Take some pressure off the offense, but they're a gunslinger offense now. Joe Flacco slinging the rock downfield. David Njoku's his man. They didn't have Amari Cooper this week, but we know what he did 2 weeks ago. This is all around the best Browns team I think I've seen in my lifetime. Better than those Baker teams with Odell and Jarvis. This is a super strong team. It's a super dangerous team. They're really good. The only reason they're not in a home game is because how good the Ravens are. But they beat the Ravens. They beat the Ravens this year. This is a really, really scary football team. 3 road games is tough, but they're kind of built for the road. Joe Flacco's not going to get phased. He's won a Super Bowl. He's deadly in the playoffs. We've seen playoff Joe Flacco. That's the only thing you know about Joe Flacco is his playoff success. He's that guy. Defense has to tighten it up a little bit. I love their cornerbacks. They take away top-tier wide receivers. They do get sloppy from time to time. They do give up some yards. They do give up some plays. But I think that's going to really tighten up when the Browns get that focus in the playoffs. There's going to be bad weather in spots, and that just feels great for Cleveland. They're going to have to go to Jacksonville or Houston or possibly Indy, and I think they're going to be favorite against all 3 of those teams, whoever they face. I would not be surprised if we got a Browns-Ravens AFC Championship game rematch, and God, imagine if Flacco wins that game in Baltimore. So Browns here at number 7. Number 6, I got the Dolphins here at number 6. Look, Miami looked really good the first 2 drives. I was really impressed. I was like, holy crap, Miami's bringing it against Baltimore. And then it all fell apart. A disastrous Sunday. You lose your best defensive player in Bradley Chubb, tearing an ACL in a game where you're down 30. There's like 3 minutes left in the game. Just a disaster for Mike McDaniel and the Dolphins. What are you doing, my guy? Just get him out of there. Tough Sunday for the Dolphins. But there is still hope. Home game against the Bills. They're going to clinch themselves the 2 seed in the AFC. They're going to get 2 home games in the playoffs. So Miami's a much better home team than they are on the road. The downside is they're underdogs to Buffalo at home. So we kind of know what this Dolphins team is. It's an explosive offense that can get bullied. Their running game has been really good. Devon Achane had a really strong day, even though things were getting out of hand. I think you got to get him the ball more. Mostert was out. Him and Mostert are a good duo. You got to control clock now if you're Miami. I think the key to this game is control clock, hit some big plays, score some points, and then try and keep your defense off the field. And that's how you're going to be successful in the playoffs. Now, they kind of figured that out with Skylar Thompson last year against the Bills. They really pushed them to the brink. I don't know if they're going to be able to figure that out this year. Hopefully they can. But we just know what the Dolphins are. They kind of struggle with really good teams. They really struggle with really physical teams. Defense kind of falling apart. They got shredded by the Ravens, a passing attack that hasn't done shit all year, it feels like, in Baltimore. They just get hammered. They're old. They're beat up. It's all falling apart. I really feel bad for you Dolphins fans. It's been a long journey since Dan Marino, and you didn't even win with Dan Marino. And it looks like it's going to be another letdown of a season. Look like you had everything in front of you. Dolphins here at 6. Okay, these next 3 teams, I think there's essentially like no separation between these teams, but I'm going to do it. I'm putting the Cowboys here at number 5. Now, don't kill me because you know who's in front of them. That means, look, I look at that game, the debacle on Saturday night. That was kind of a tie in my eyes. We don't have to talk about the controversies. We know what happened. It was a total screw up. Would they have won the game? Not guaranteed. Not going to say that. Cowboys would have got the ball. Plenty of time left. I shouldn't say plenty. Enough time left to go get a field goal. We just don't know how it happens. Look at that as a tie. But Dallas, coming off 2 straight road losses, kind of got bullied in one of them and not great against Miami all around. I expected a high-flying performance against the Lions, a team that hadn't won the division in 30 years. They're out partying, celebrating all week, and you really looked flat. You had a home run, massive play to CD where the defender slips and Dak just says, screw it, chucks it up there as he's under duress. Guy misses a safety sack, and it works. Goes for 92 yards, goes for a touchdown. But other than that, kind of a lot of yards, no points for the Cowboys. Couldn't really score. The real positive side is the defense looked really sharp this week. They were able to get after a very good offensive line in Detroit. They made life really tough for them offensively. And somehow, by the gift of the gods, it was a New Year's miracle. The Eagles screwed up. Dallas now controls their own destiny. And this is what I've been harping on with the Cowboys all year. They are so much better at home than they are on the road. They're now in line to get 2 home games in Dallas, and it's a real sin that they might be playing the Lions in the second round, and that game's going to be in Dallas instead of Detroit because of that referee screw up, but it is what it is. I think Dallas is now a legitimate title contender. Dak's kind of playing a little bit down back to earth. Maybe they'll get this figured out. I think the big thing with this team that's going to cost them everything is Fat Mike. Mike McCarthy, he's been terrible. I don't trust his game situation. His clock management is atrocious. Easily could have ran out that clock on Detroit. Could have made it really hard for them to try and tie that game, score the touchdown at least to have the opportunity to tie. I just think he's just been really bad. Dak kind of freezes up in big spots in big games, more particularly on the road. He's going to be comfortable at home. So I would bet against the Cowboys finally ending that streak, getting back to an NFC title game. Probably going to have to go to San Francisco. You've played them 2 years in a row. Why not make it 3? Let the rivalry continue. So Dallas here at number 5. Number 4, I got the Lions. Like I said, I had the Lions in front of Dallas last week. I viewed that game as a tie. Kind of a tough break for the Lions, but I was really impressed with them overall. Like I said, you hadn't won a division in 30 years. It's a massive letdown spot. You're going on the road to a Cowboys team. There were still some seeding implications, obviously. But guess what? They showed up, man. They didn't get blown out. Dallas is a juggernaut at home. They really played tough ball. Now, the offense struggled. They really struggled to pick up the pass protection, which we really haven't seen all this year. They ran the ball pretty effectively, though, against a gun run defense. Jahmyr Gibbs was solid. Amon-Ra St. Brown had an awesome day. He is, the sun god. He's awesome. Very underrated wide receiver. But they had to score, and they did. They went down the field. They scored. We all know what happens there. Defense, I was very impressed with the defense. This has been a much maligned unit. They got sliced up by Minnesota last week, and they gave up scores. Kind of got carved up by Dallas this week, but they did a much better job not giving up points, forcing Dallas to be in bad spots, bad situations, kicking field goals. And then Dan Campbell is now motivated. Detroit now has an us against the world mentality. The referee screwed us. We would have been the 2 seed. We wouldn't have to see big bad Matt Stafford. Now they're going to have to play Stafford. That building's going to be a bumping. They're going to take care of business this week against Minnesota. It doesn't really mean anything, but Dan Campbell says he is now motivated by a fury that knows no ends. I'd be pretty scared now if I'm playing the Lions. Maybe the NFL just woke up a sleeping giant that's just going to go on this insane tear, win the Super Bowl, beat the Cleveland Browns in it. But I got the Lions here at number 4, a very dangerous team at home in the playoffs. Okay, number 3, the Buffalo Bills. This might be the most awkward seeding ever. I really think the Bills are really good. They do let down. They do make bad mistakes. But the Bills could also miss the playoffs. The Bills win. They're the 2 seed in the AFC. They're hosting 2 playoff games. If the Bills lose, there is a very realistic scenario where they are out of the postseason. So this could be the best team to miss the playoffs since like the 2010 Chargers. Dominant team. Look, they didn't play great offensively again, just kind of struggling, man. I just don't know, but they win games. They are just hot as can be right now. They turn up dubs. The defense is playing a lot better than we thought they would be able to hold up with all the injuries they have across it. They're forcing turnovers left and right. We need to see more consistency from Josh Allen, more running with James Cook. The passing game, what the hell happened to Stephon Diggs? I mean, good God, he's fallen off the map, it feels like. They got to kind of get more consistent, this Bills team, but they're super dangerous. They play a physical style of football. I think it matches up very well with Baltimore, the number 1 team in the AFC. This is a team that's well experienced, well tested. They've played in a lot of playoff games. They're going to be able to go on the road. It's not going to be in a friendly environment, but I think this is kind of the year that Bills, like, everyone's kind of sleeping on the Bills. You know, the Bills haven't been great this year. This is the year they attack. They get to an AFC championship game. Maybe they win the AFC finally and get themselves to a Super Bowl for the first time since those 4 straight in the 90s. I'm very interested to see how this plays out. It makes sense they're favorite in Miami. It's a bad matchup for the Dolphins, but you never know with division games. Things can get real squirrely, and I'm going to feel like really bad for the Bills if they miss out on the postseason. But guess what? They only got one person to blame, and it's themselves. All right, number 2, I think there's a massive gap between like 3 through 8 or 9 or 10 even, and these 2 teams. Like San Francisco is the best team in the NFC. Kind of another weird performance from Frisco. Kind of let, Washington hang around. They take care of business though. They clinch home field advantage throughout. they're going to rest guys, which they need. Christian McCaffrey already ruled out. He's got a calf strain. You need to get him available for the divisional round when you're hosting. And, San Francisco, they're just a juggernaut. I do think they're the best overall roster in this league. But, we saw them get tripped up real bad against Baltimore, so they can get beat. They're a very vulnerable team. When they're not 100%, when they get behind, that's their biggest weakness. This team has not shown an ability to come back against teams, especially good defensive teams. They kind of struggle with that. But a week to prepare, the bye, get everybody healthy, dangerous team. I'm very confident we're going to see the Niners in the NFC Championship game, and I'm almost as confident we're going to see the Niners in the Super Bowl. We just know how good this team is. Brock Purdy, there was MVP talk. There's he's shit talk. He had a bad game against Baltimore. Everybody has a bad game now and again. He's good, man. He's definitely good. Mr. Irrelevant, more like Mr. Relevant. He feels like a top 10 quarterback. He makes big plays, man. He distributes the ball. He set the franchise record for most yards, and everyone's like, oh, all this, yak and yards after. He ranks right up there with the rest of them. He doesn't have an exorbitant amount of yak yards from his skill players, so he's tossing the rock. He's slinging it. Defense isn't concerned. The secondary, not great. They can get beat. The pass rush is kind of slowing down a little bit. You need to tune up that pass rush. Good linebackers. I just think maybe they ran out of gas. Maybe they hit their peak a little too soon in San Francisco, but I could be wrong. I do think they are good enough to get to the Super Bowl. And Kyle Shanahan with a week to prepare, a team that's on a mission, very, very dangerous. Niners here too. All right, and finally, the Baltimore Ravens. Number one. Had them number one last week. Looked good. Still didn't love everything I saw. This was the game. This was the game. This is what I've wanted to see. Lamar Jackson, 300-plus yards, 5 touchdowns. He was slinging the rock. Finally, Ravens fans, we've seen it. It's the promised land. Elite passing attack from the Ravens. Isaiah Likely doing an awesome job filling in for Mark Andrews. Defense, really, really strong. They had to adjust to the Dolphins. They kind of got punched in the mouth, got a little benefit. Tyree drops a touchdown. Otherwise, could have been up against it slightly. They adjusted. They shut down this explosive offense from Miami. This is a great defense. Now, I do think push comes to shove. If a team isn't going to back down, they can play physical with them. You can move the ball against the Niners, i.e., think of like LA. They went to that overtime game. Those kind of teams, that's the potential. But man, if we're going to see an offense like this from Lamar, it's not always pretty. They got to run the ball, I think, a little more. I don't think they run the ball quite enough anymore. Lamar just makes plays, man. Third downs, conversions. He just makes plays. And he throws a great deep ball. I don't think people don't still really appreciate how good of a passer Lamar Jackson has turned into. Is he going to go out there and be like Patrick Mahomes, cannon arms, slinging it around like that? No, he's got his own type of style. He's got his own type of game. But man, he's got beautiful touch on his deep balls. He knows when to pull the trigger, when not to pull the trigger. And when he's got to go use those legs, he can go use those damn legs. Now the Ravens, they lock up the 1 seed. They lock up the bye. Please rest everybody. You have to have everybody healthy. This is a serious Super Bowl team. Heavy favorites, I think, in the AFC. Now the big question mark, it's all on everybody's mind. Lamar's been a different guy in the playoffs. He's been really bad. Not good whatsoever. Flat out terrible. It's okay. You can say it, Ravens fan. It's okay. You can believe. So that's your only concern. That's only my only concern is like maybe Lamar just ain't that guy. But I don't think it's going to be like that. I think they get themselves into the AFC Championship game at home. Probably get themselves into a Super Bowl. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see a Niners-Ravens rematch and a much better game than we saw the first time. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Who am I too high on? Who am I too low on? Are we buying the Ravens-Niners Super Bowl setup? What about the Bills? Could they actually miss the playoffs? Is it even possible, if not probable? Cleveland Browns, I think, are a sleepy, sneaky team. Eagles, Chiefs, broken. How about them Cowboys? Could this streak come to an end? If you haven't already, hit that thumbs up. Click that like button. Subscribe to the channel. We got new sports content every single day. If you want to support the channel more, helps me out a lot. Join the channel memberships. There's lots of tier options. You get access to exclusive videos, early content, badges, emojis, things you use for the chat during live streams throughout the year. Really helps me out. Allows me to keep making these great videos for you guys every single day. Again, if you haven't already, like, subscribe, and share. And I'll see y'all tomorrow.